Okay guys, so this is something that I did not get to yesterday, so even though you don't see me in the flesh, you can still get to hear my voice. So, new table of contents. Oops. This is going to be, we'll just call it Polynomial Operations. So go ahead, pause the video, go ahead, label your table of contents, and get a new page up and going. Okay, so far we have multiplied a binomial times a binomial. So in other words, we've done, let's say, 3x plus 5 times 2x minus 4. Okay, pause the video, take a second and work that one and see if we get the same thing. Alright, so is this what you got? I hope so. So this is a binomial times a binomial. Now, we're going to do things a little bit differently. So you can do a new baby heading, and we're going to title this binomial times trinomial. Sorry about my handwriting. I don't get to use my favorite app, so things are going a little more lopsided than I hoped for. So now instead of multiplying a thing of two terms times a thing of 2 terms, we're going to multiply a thing of 2 terms times a thing of 3 terms. Now, just like we use distributive property for a binomial times a binomial, we are going to do the same exact thing. So in other words, the 2x in my first parenthesis has to go to every single thing in my second parenthesis. The positive 3 in my first parenthesis has to go to everything in the second parenthesis. So I'm going to take that 2x and multiply it times 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. And then take my plus 3 and multiply that 3x squared plus 2x minus 5. Okay, then from here we're going to do the same thing we did with the binomial times a binomial. After we've broken it up, we're going to go ahead and distribute. So this is going to give me 2 times 3 is 6. X times x. Remember, when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So this becomes x to the third. And then 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared. Then 2x times negative 5 gives me negative 10x. Continue on the second set of parentheses. 3 times 3x squared is going to give me plus 9x squared. 3 times 2x gives me 6x. And 3 times negative 5 gives me minus 15. Okay? After you've multiplied everything out, we get to do our favorite thing, which is combine like terms. 6x to the third has no friends, so he's just 6x to the third. 4x squared and 9x squared give me 13x squared. And then negative 10x plus 6x gives me minus 4x. And then negative 15 is just minus 15. So we're doing the same exact thing we did with 2 terms times 2 terms, except now it's 2 terms times 3 terms. Okay, so that's a binomial times a trinomial. Now, we can also have a binomial, I'm just going to say binom, times a binomial times a binomial. So now we're multiplying 3 things together instead of just 2. Now don't panic, I promise it's not that bad. So example 3, let's do x plus 4 times x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. Okay, now what you need to do is break this up. So I'm going to break it up into something I know how to work with, which is two binomials. So then what I'm going to do is break down and multiply my two binomials. So I'm going to do x times x minus 3 plus 4 times x minus 3. Okay, x minus 3. So then I'm going to distribute. This becomes x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12. Combine like terms. So x squared plus 1x minus 12. Okay, so this whole green area just got simplified to this. So I'm going to bring down my second parenthesis. So now, you can do this either way. You can distribute the green to the black, or you can flip it around and do it like we did for example 2. I'll rewrite it over here. So I'm going to rewrite it as 2x plus 1 times x squared plus x minus 12. Because remember, multiplication is commutative, so it doesn't matter what order we put it in. So then here I'm going to do double distributive. Make sure you're working this with me, not just watching me work it. Okay, if you want to pause it and you work it, go for it. And I'm going to work it and then show it to you. So pause if you want to work it. Actually, you know what? Pause and work it. Not if you want to. You're in math. You're going to have to do math, so just go ahead and pause and work. And voila! When you multiplied it out, you should have got 2x to the third plus 3x squared minus 23x minus 12. So I know this has kind of been a lengthy video, but hopefully you've paused enough so it feels like I'm right there in the room with you and not just on a video screen. But now, the last one I want to talk about is just a special case. Okay, pause. Sorry about that. That was the dog running in from outside. So now this is a special case, and we'll just call this a special case. How you do the math does not change. How the problem looks does change. So this is example 4. So what this will look like is, instead of having two binomials written side by side, you'll just have a binomial squared. Well, remember, in real life, 5 squared, we know that's 25, and we know it's 25 because 5 times 5 gives you 25, right? So what that means is you wrote the base 2 times. Same thing over here, I'm going to write the base 2 times. So x plus 4 times x plus 4. So then from there, go ahead and distribute like normal. Alright, so there you go, x squared plus 8x plus 16. So how you do the math doesn't change. It just looks a little different. I'm going to change this to special cases, not just special case. There's one more special case that I want to show, and it is, for example 5, it's still going to be a binomial times a binomial. Let's say x plus 9 times x minus 9. Okay, so still binomial times a binomial. So to simplify, do the math like normal, and everything should just flow like normal. So take a minute, pause, work that out. Okay, so notice here after you distribute, when you combine like terms, negative 9x plus 9x, they're the same thing. So they actually cancel each other out. So you are just left with x squared minus 81. Now, this is what makes it a special case. You still have a binomial times a binomial, except now, when you multiply it out, you're not left with a trinomial, you're just left with a binomial. So, yeah, special case. Okay, so that's all I have for refreshing or really showing you how to do this. If you have any more questions, I will post a couple additional help videos that I just find off YouTube, and hopefully those will help you. And I'll also post videos to remind you how to add and subtract, because that is going to also be on your study guide.